The film opens with a narration about the endless battle between light and darkness, driven by souls from Earth. The Dark Lord, Malebolgia, has sent a lieutenant to recruit men who will help fuel Malebolgia's army. Now Malebolgia is looking for a strong leader to guide his forces to heaven and destroy it. After the narration, the scene cuts to an airport control room in Hong Kong. An intruder enters, quickly overpowers and knocks out all the staff. He then takes out a rocket launcher from his gear and prepares it. As a small private plane lands in the hangar, he gets ready waiting for the passengers to disembark. When he spots his main target, he launches the rocket, causing the plane to burst into flames. Before leaving, he also sets the control room on fire. The intruder is then revealed to be Al Simmons, a former soldier now working as a hired assassin. At an A6 command center, Jason Wynn, Simmons' superior, receives the news and praises Simmons for his actions. With him is the Violator, a lieutenant of Malebolgia. They discuss a mission to destroy a biochemical plant in North Korea. The Violator also mentions that he will soon recruit Simmons as one of the soldiers before leaving the room. The next day, Terry, Simmons' best friend, arrives to pick him up from his house. As Simmons leaves, his pet dog, Spaz, follows him outside. Simmons says goodbye to the dog, asking it to watch over the house and his fiancée, Wanda. Terry and Simmons then drive to Jason's office. During the drive, Terry hands Simmons a newspaper article about the airport incident, which caused the death of innocent civilians. At the office, Simmons confronts Jason, blaming for not keeping innocent people away from the incident. Jason defends the action as a regrettable but necessary sacrifice. Simmons then tells Jason he wants to quit, but Jason insists he complete one last mission. After this final job, Jason promises to arrange Simmons' transfer. He then briefs a mission to infiltrate a biochemical plant in North Korea and carefully handle any biological threats. Simmons agrees to take on the last mission. Simmons proceeds with his mission at the biochemical plant in North Korea. As he goes deeper into the facility, he discovers explosives attached to a biochemical container, which confuses him. Suddenly, Jason arrives and tells Simmons that the mission's priorities have changed. Simmons warns that releasing the virus could harm a nearby town, but Jason argues that the local people could be used as test subjects for the virus. Simmons rejects this idea and aims his weapon at Jason. Before he can act further, Priest, Jason's top assassin, shoots at Simmons and covers him with liquid gas. Jason then throws a lit cigarette at Simmons, setting him on fire. The two then leave the facility, which they explode as they depart. Afterwards, Simmons wakes up to find the Violator mocking his burned appearance. As he tries to understand where he is, he sees his reflection in a pool of water and is approached by a kid named Zach. As he interacts with Zach, he notices an old man behind him who has been observing him. The old man tells Simmons that he has been gone for 5 years, but Simmons brushes him off and asks about his location. Zach describes the place as Rat City, where everyone is welcomed. The old man offers Simmons a place to stay, but Simmons declines, saying he has a home and heads back to what he believes is his residence, not realizing he has been trapped in hell for 5 long years. At his old home, Simmons sees a birthday party happening. He hides in the bushes and watches, realizing that Wanda is now married to his best friend Terry and they have a child together. As he watches, Spaz catches Simmons' scent and moves towards him, with Cayenne, Wanda, and Terry's daughter trailing behind. When Wanda sees Simmons with Cayenne, she quickly grabs her, not recognizing Simmons. Terry, seeing Simmons, warns him to leave. The Violator then steps in, introducing Simmons as one of his friends, and they both leave the scene. In the alley, Simmons complains about his burning skin and demands the Violator take him to the hospital. The Violator tells him that he is already dead and that hospitals cannot help him. Confused and with his memory fading, Simmons struggles to understand the Violator's words. To help him remember, the Violator shows him a flashback. The flashback reveals that Simmons died in an explosion and was sent to hell where he met Malebolgia. Malebolgia offered him the chance to lead his army in exchange for seeing Wanda again, a deal Simmons quickly accepted. However, Malebolgia then ordered him to kill Jason Wynn. The Violator then leads Simmons to his grave. At the cemetery, Simmons uncovers his tomb, finding his remains in an old locket with a picture of him and Wanda. As Simmons mourns his death, spikes begin to emerge from his body, forming an armor-like skin. The Violator announces him as Spawn, General of Hell's armies. Simmons places the locket on his chest, and his new armor absorbs it. The Violator then takes him back to the alley and leaves. In the alley, Simmons unleashes his frustration and vows to kill Jason. At that moment, the old man reappears and warns him about letting the devil control him. He reveals that he is an assassin, just like Simmons, but his killings happened 5 centuries ago when he took down the kingdom of Saxony. The old man introduces himself as Cogliostro. Meanwhile, at the A6 headquarters, Jason watches Terry, who is now the spokesperson for A6, defending Jason and his missions. Priest then inserts a CD into a projector, revealing the completion of Jason's latest weapon, Heat 16, a biological weapon for which only he has the antidote. At the same time, Simmons sneaks into the facility, defeating the guards and arming himself with their weapons. Later, Terry visits Jason in his office, expressing his unease about spreading falsehoods to cover his missions and his wish to understand the field operations data better. Jason refuses, stating that Terry's only duty now is to keep the public on his side. Jason threatens Terry to ensure he does not oppose him, and they both leave the office. As they exit, Terry notices the CD inserted by Priest. As Terry and Jason head to an event, Jason is surrounded by a crowd. Shortly after, Terry receives a call about a breach in the armory and quickly informs Jason. As they prepare to leave, Simmons bursts through the ceiling and attacks Jason. He also confronts Terry about marrying Wanda. Terry tries to explain, but Simmons does not listen. Simmons attempts to shoot Jason, but Priest arrives just in time to shoot Simmons, causing chaos in the event hall. Despite being shot, Simmons discovers that his armor absorbs the bullets and protects him. Realizing this, he fights back and kills Priest. More soldiers arrive and attack him, but his armor forms a protective shield around his face as well. During the commotion, Simmons crashes through a window and falls, but his armor manifests chains that save him as he clings to the side of the building. When the police arrive and spot him on the building's exterior, they open fire in an attempt to capture him. In response, Simmons' armor produces a large red cape that helps him blend in with the building. As the police fail to find him, Simmons escapes safely with the help of his cape. Next, as Jason examines the deceased priest, the Violator approaches and Jason accuses him of not warning him about Simmons. The Violator casually replies that he did not expect Simmons to act so swiftly. Jason then informs the Violator that the Heat 16 is now ready. Before leaving, the Violator reveals that a device will be implanted in Jason's heart, linking his heartbeat to the Heat 16 bomb. If Jason's heart stops, the bomb will explode automatically. While Wanda is at a conference, she spots Simmons and becomes worried about Cayenne, but she feels relieved when she sees her daughter playing safely in the back. Later, Simmons briefly talks to Cayenne while she plays with Spaz. When he hears Wanda calling for Cayenne, he quickly flees. Subsequently, Malebolgia summons the Violator, reprimanding him for not ensuring Simmons followed through on his deal. The Violator expresses his frustration about Simmons being named general instead of him. Malebolgia insists that Simmons must kill Jason and release the virus to activate the army and gives him a final chance to make it happen. After Wanda finishes her conference and picks up Cayenne, Terry rushes them home without Spaz and updates Wanda on the attack on Jason. Meanwhile, Spaz stays with Simmons, who refuses to let him go. In the alley, as Zach settles in with Simmons and Spaz, the Violator arrives. Simmons confronts him, accusing him of ordering Jason to kill him. A fight breaks out, and the Violator reveals his true form. The battle causes chaos in the alley. During the fight, Simmons finds Spaz's belt in the street, intensifying the struggle. They both fall from a balcony and land in the street, where the Violator slams Simmons into a spiked fence before changing back into his clown form and leaving. Cogliostro then arrives to help Simmons. At the same time, Jason undergoes surgery to have the device implanted in his chest, and the procedure is completed successfully. Cogliostro reveals to Simmons the damage from his recent fight with the Violator, highlighting civilian injuries. He reminds Simmons that he's now Spawn and advises him to let go of Wanda to find freedom. Cogliostro advises him to let go of Wanda. He stresses that the ongoing battle between heaven and hell depends on their choices, which often involve sacrifices. He then teaches Simmons how to control his armor through focus and visualization. Before Simmons goes off to find Wanda, Cogliostro warns him to save his powers because running out could be fatal. Simmons discards his weapons, trusting only in his armor, and gives Spaz's collar to Zach, asking him to find the dog. Then he grabs a motorcycle and departs. While on his way, Simmons encounters the Violator, who is driving a truck. The Violator immediately attempts to run him over, but Simmons quickly reacts by using his cape to create a protective shield around himself. Undeterred, the Violator retaliates by firing necro goo from the truck, which causes Simmons' motorcycle to lose traction and skid uncontrollably. The Violator then reverses the truck and charges at Simmons once more, who is shielded by his cape. This results in a huge explosion. At the same time, Terry breaks into his office's database and copies confidential files onto a CD. At home with Wanda, he reviews the data and discovers Jason's plan to use Heat-16 for global control. Wanda has a dream about Simmons but is jolted awake by Cayenne. Terry then contacts a news reporter to inform her of the incriminating evidence he has against Jason, which he promptly emails to her. Shortly after, Cayenne and Wanda arrive at Terry's office, followed closely by Jason, who is armed with a gun. Seeing the email draft on Terry's computer, Jason shoots the device and destroys his evidence. Terry warns Jason not to release the virus that could endanger millions, but Jason is unconcerned. Just as Jason is about to shoot Terry, the doorbell rings. Jason tells Wanda to answer the door while he stays with Cayenne and Terry. At the door is the Violator, who informs Jason that Spawn is on his way and advises him to get ready for the confrontation. Soon, Simmons arrives at Wanda's place and finds her tied up while Jason tries to threaten her with a knife. Jason demands that Simmons choose between joining Hell's army or letting Wanda die. Before Simmons can respond, Jason stabs Wanda in the chest. Furious, Simmons grabs Jason and throws him against a door, which bursts open to reveal captive Cayenne and Terry. Jason warns Simmons that killing him would activate a device linked to his heart, unleashing a virus that could destroy all life on Earth. Though ready to attack, Simmons hesitates when Jason reveals that his death would also kill Cayenne. Instead, Simmons uses his powers to try to disable the device in Jason's chest, but it stays inactive. As Simmons tries to free Wanda's body, she suddenly revives and stabs him, revealing herself as the Violator. While Simmons chastises Jason for not killing him when he had the chance, Cogliostro appears and leads the Violator to disappear into the flames. Cogliostro then frees everyone and advises Simmons to focus on healing. Finally, Cogliostro and Simmons descend into Hell together. In Hell, the Violator, in his demon form, fights Cogliostro. Simmons steps in to protect Cogliostro and stabs the Violator, causing him to vanish from Hell. Simmons then faces Malebolgia, who demands that Simmons either lead his army or face death. As Malebolgia's forces prepare to attack, Simmons takes Cogliostro and returns to Earth. Back at Wanda's place, Zack brings Spaz back. Suddenly, the Violator appears behind Simmons, grabbing him and attempting to devour him. Cogliostro advises Simmons to activate his armor. Simmons obeys, forming spikes around his head that pierce the Violator's mouth. His chains then decapitate the Violator, sending him back to Hell. Later, police and media arrive at Wanda's home. The evidence against Jason is aired worldwide, leading to his arrest. Later, Cayenne is seen wearing Simmons' locket. The film closes with a narration stating that Simmons has, for now, thwarted Malebolgia's plan to destroy the Earth.